Delver. Brian already up a game, resolving a ponder. Looks like he wasn't happy with what he saw. So a mystery card on the way.
And in only 25 minutes, he took the first game.
It's pretty impressive.
Brian will need a win and a big thing and a lot of luck to get in on this.
Just coasting into 9th place is BBD. His favorite finish. Like, the number of 9th place finishes he has is truly staggering.
I can sympathize. Oh, man.
Just always on the outside looking in. It's also crazy to think that Brian has not won an Open Series event before. He's made top 8 of a handful of invitationals and who knows how many Open Series events, but a victory has actually still eluded him, as here is Rill resolving a brainstorm.
Rill on the four-color Delver deck that he's known to play. Interesting because it doesn't seem as wild this weekend when you look at all the Grixis Delver decks.
Yeah, I mean, Eric has always been playing pretty non-traditional Delver decks. You know, we don't oftentimes see him playing something like Teamer Delver. He's always been a big fan of Grixis Delver, even when it wasn't that popular. And then he's also enjoyed 4-color Delver decks as well. One with a 4-color Delver deck in Milwaukee during Season 2 of the Open Series last year. Here's Young Pyromancer. This will get the party started as we go back BBD's way.
Threat on the board for Rill, that much will be good. See Brian fetching basics, playing around that wasteland. Just has to parry Eric's blows for a while until he has enough lands to start playing his more powerful cards.
Yeah, once Miracles gets to the late game, we know how that story ends. That's just where Brian's trying to get to. Does appear to have a fetch land in his hand. I think it's an Arid Mesa, and it is. So he's going to get on an 18. I imagine Basic Plains on the way, though.
Remember, Eric's 4-color Delver deck is a 4-stifle deck.
Yep.
Unlike a lot of the Grixis decks you've been seeing.
I was actually checking to see if Brian had a mountain this weekend or not. Oftentimes he is playing the Red Splash in his Miracles deck for, the blast effects and wear tear. And he has some of those effects again this weekend as well. But 3 Volcanic Islands is how he is doing that. Here's Brainstorm. Counterbalance among the cards.
Counterbalance among the cards he found, and Entreat the Angels. Doesn't have the right basics set up for a counterbalance here. Ideally, you'd like to kill that Young Pyromancer and then just continue playing draw go. Can bury the Entreat 2 cards down. That may be good enough. Means he could cast it for X = 2 on the turn he flips it. Or maybe
there's Sensei top.
Maybe he just keeps it until he needs it now that he has the top.
Yeah, and I love Eric fighting over this card. It is, for my money, the best card in the Miracles deck. Makes the card go. Now, it looks bad because you counter one and they have another one, but, it is what it is. You have to do what it takes to try to keep that card off the board. And Rill actually has another Force of Will to do so. So I actually don't mind that exchange. I'm sure Brian's probably okay with it because you just took away 4 cards from your opponent.
Right. It was a 2, scored 2/2 for ones there.
Yep.
But since he's Divine Top, just that important.
But also, Eric did get some elemental tokens from his Young Pyromancer, so it's not all lost. You saw him top deck a Brainstorm here, so there's another elemental token. Now he's coming across for 4 and putting some pressure on BBD. The follow-up is a Deathrite Shaman. Pass the turn back. Brian, oh boy.
The Miracle Terminus there with that. A huge flip for Brian.
Yeah. And now a counterbalance. And just like that, things have changed.
No, Eric was out of cards. He spent them all fighting that counter war. He is on just lands, no hand. That means it's time for Jace. And that Terminus, that marked the end of the game.
Yeah, so the weird thing about this, about playing against Miracles, and I don't actually think there's a right answer. So as I've watched this deck over the past handful of years and seen it evolve, I've made a pretty strong argument that you're just supposed to always counter top, even if you have to Force of Will it. And so now I'm trying to think of, okay, what if Eric just had those 2 Force of Wills still?
Well, he still might have gotten counter Counterbalance on top of both still being played. I mean, when his board gets to be that developed, you're right. There certainly is a case for just countering terminuses.
But their deck is so good when they have top, though.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is that if you leave them top, Brian might crack a fetch land, spin a top, swords your first guy, then 2 turns later, swords your next guy, and then where are you? And now he has top, and you're going to lose.
So to me, it's like I'm fine with Eric fighting over those tops, because top is so good in this deck, and it really just makes this deck do everything that it does. But Brian, sets up a Terminus on top. Now he's got a Jace and a counterbalance, and it's like, okay, well, I don't really know if Eric could have even won this game, and I don't even know if he uses Force of Wills correctly or incorrectly, or if there was even a right way to go about doing it. But that's part of what makes Miracles so hard to play against. Because every time someone plays a top, you're always just like, no, not that thing. I probably am supposed to counter that, and then it's unclear if you're even supposed to or not.
Right, so I think it's more at that point he needs to figure out whether he wants to challenge Brian to have the Terminus on top of his deck, or whether he wants to challenge Brian to be able to find multiple swords.
Here's an Entreat the Angels.
Eric's being a trooper here. Didn't scoop to the Jace, didn't scoop to the Jace counterbalance. Well, how about Entreat?
He's fighting on. Brian going to pay for the full amount. If Eric has a Daze or something here, by all means. He's got a Pyroblast.
All right.
Brian knows the top card of his deck, so he's not going to reveal the counterbalance. So here comes the Entreat.
2 4/4s will probably be enough.
Yeah, against a Delver deck, they're quite good.
Get a chance to see those new Ali Antrazi tokens in action.
This is the debut. Finally, Ali swing into the red zone. I thought it would be with Joe Lissette, but it's Brian Braun-Duin. And he comes. Rill going to go down to 8. BBD with a dig through time now. This deck is frighteningly powerful. The
cards are very strong.
It's not the kind of deck that I would really play, because it's just super control heavy and just not the kind of Magic that I like to play. But every time I watch this deck, I am just more and more impressed with all the things it can do. And Dig Through Time is just a really good addition to the deck too. As is apparently Monastery Mentor. Josh Ravitz had 4 main deck copies. Brian's got 3 in his sideboard. Here's a Lightning Bolt. Nice. Sure. Reveal an island.
And not even...
Yeah.
There we go. Well, he's at 11 now.
Yeah.
So then Eric will concede.
Brian Braun-Duin is going to win this match here over Eric Rill, 2-0. Miracles is going to take care of 4-color Delver. I think some people might be happy that Brian's actually probably going to be on the outside looking in. I think he just racked up another 9th place finish on a very impressive resume. But I tell you, this Miracles deck is really, really, really strong. And I don't think we're going to have one of the top 8 again. If things go Brian's way as far as tiebreakers are concerned, we'll see him get exactly 8th place, but it doesn't appear that's going to be the case.
I don't think so. But we'll see when we'll have that update when we have our top 8 announcement.